Hey everyone, quick video here about bud grafting, and if you're new to the channel, I did post a couple videos on cliff grafting using my um, grafting tool, which will do a V cut on both the on the scion and almost like an opposite V on the rootstock. That works great. I'm very happy with it, but um, the prerequisite for that to work successfully is similar size scion and rootstock, which in this case, for example, as you see here, that might not be the case. That doesn't mean you can't do cliff grafting. There are techniques to do, but with very thin, fragile cuttings, sometimes it's a little bit harder. The other reason why you want to do this is just, I think it's easier for beginners, to be honest. And you can always try to graft multiple times, whereas in the cleft graft, if I'm going to graft it here, if it fails, I'm going to have to go lower, and sometimes I don't have that option. I'm using this here as an example. This is a tree that I'm planning to graft later on, so most likely I'm going to graft over this area, so I'm going to use this one here for this quick tutorial here. So bud grafting means I'm going to take a bud from this scion. I'm going to have to cut open my bark here. I'll show you how and different ways of doing it, and then we'll wrap it with the budding tape rubber and then parafilm, and then it depends if I'm going to put it in direct sunlight or inside. I might or might not cover it with aluminum foil for the first couple of weeks. So we can start here. I will probably do two different techniques here. Something I want to make sure that you see here is you might on some of the scion see swollen bud, and for me this one is probably harder to work with, to be honest, but it still work. I always prefer a bud that's swollen versus for example a bud like this one here. So this is a bud. If I take this piece here and graft it, it will take, probably will be very late, but I could sometimes in the next season, to be honest with you. But if I'm working with something like this one here, where I can see the bud, or even better, something like this one here, that would take much faster. It will grow faster. Now, the other important thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is, from my experience, of course, I always had higher success rate when the rootstock is awake and the scion is dormant. And the reason for that is because when the scion is active, any light, the energy in the bud itself will start pushing too fast before the cambium on both the scion and the rootstock heals properly, and that can cause failure. So I prefer always, that doesn't mean it doesn't work, I prefer always an active rootstock and a dormant scion. But I've tried both active and that worked as well. What you don't want to do is graft an active scion on a dormant tree. I've never done that. I don't think that's going to be highly successful, so I try to avoid that. So what I do usually, if I'm planning to graft indoor on smaller trees, I would bring them indoor and like let them. They will wake up in a week, and I can tell by making a small cut, and I will see some of the sap flowing. So that's a good sign. So we'll start here. I'm going to start with the difficult one here first. Or you know what, let's start with the very flat. And again, the bigger the cutting, not too big, would be easier to work with. And so we'll start that. Again, you'll probably have to experiment a little bit. I do have my grafting knife here. So what I do, first of all, is try to measure how much I'm going to take from this one here and what's the cut here, or sometimes it doesn't matter because I can make it shorter. But what I'm going to do here, and I highly recommend that you're wearing cut resistant like gloves if possible. or cut away from yourself. Always cut away from yourself. By the way, I learned my lesson the hard way. I will never ever use a box cutter to do any graft. That's just a no for me. So please avoid that. You can find grafting knives on Amazon. They're not that cheap, that expensive, and you can always use it for many years. But not box cutters unless you're wearing really good quality cut resistant gloves. So what I'm going to do here, this is almost an inch below the graft. I'm going to go slightly below the and wiggle again. If you're pushing and it's not going, don't push too hard, just go left right. Keep the blade facing, I would say 15 degrees down. You don't want it to cut out and damage your bud. So left right, a little bit shallow. Basically you want to get the bark and not the wood. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to press on it here, and I'm just going to make a horizontal cut here. Now I can go all the way out, but I will explain to you why I'm doing this in a second here. And again, even if you're not wearing glove resistant gloves or cut resistant gloves, I would recommend plastic gloves, because you don't want to contaminate or touch the cambium area here. So I'm going to lift it here carefully. Let you guys see it. So some of the wood, some of the bark, some of the cambium. And this is where I took the cut here. So I'm going to put this back here. And then I'm going to measure exactly where I'm going to do the cut here. So just kind of memorize the size and the width. So I'm gonna go from here, cut through the bark, and I'm probably somewhere around here. It's okay if it's a little bit. Now go carefully so you don't go too much. Slowly, yeah. A little bit extra won't hurt. Now I'm going to put my cyan down, making sure it doesn't fall, touches any dirt or dust. And what I'm going to do here with the knife, and again be careful, starting from the top, I'm going to try to work my way through to kind of release the bark slowly. And you can on some of the graft knives there is a non-sharp edge here, so once you open your bud, or once you remove a little bit of the bark, you can use that so it doesn't accidentally cut the bark open. You want it all in one piece, preferably. And in the depth inside, and the bark is basically I would say almost half the width of your bud. So watch out for your finger. And try to zoom in here. Again, this works much better when the tree is awake. Okay. So now this is loose, I would say. Making sure the cut here is clean and straight line as much as possible. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just lift this one here a little bit, make sure it's always clean, and this one here. So if I see anything under it, I try to remove it. And now carefully I'm going to get my bud. Here's the bud here, and I'm going to try to slide it. maybe I didn't mention that, but make sure like at least a couple hours before you wash this area here with a damp paper towel. So now I'm gonna slowly push my finger down. See how it's gonna keep going, keep going, keep going. And the reason I said this is easier to work with, because you're going to be more careful pushing down on this bud here, because it might come off actually and break. So the one here that's a little bit more flat is easier to work with. Now what's important for me while I'm doing this is I'm keeping this one straight line as much as possible, again to maximize the contact. And as you see here, now this is below the bark. What I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to just push it up and make sure this is now, yeah, so this is straight enough for me. If the bark here is too close to the bud that you think it's going to get in the way, I can use the knife to slice. Maybe upward is better. Slice a small piece out of it. Here we go. This way it's not in the way. Next, again, push it in. So now it's tucked in really good. This is really good actually. What I'm going to do is get my rubber, grafting rubber here. This is not just normal rubber, this is a grafting rubber. And with this method, what I like to do is I like to start from the bottom. Why? Because I want this one to be pushed against the horizontal line here, both of them. Not too hard, not too tight. That's another important thing. So I'm going to put it here in the back here. I'm going to do one lap over, just to overlap it. And then I'm going to go one by one. Careful not to crush your bud. And now I'm going to do above it to put some pressure on the top part. And again, don't cover your bud with the rubber. Go down. Next, this is easy trick. So I'll put my finger here and I'll put this one here and overlap it, and then I'm going to pull it from the other side and put it under my finger and release it slowly. And now it's tight. So once you're done with this, what you want to do is get a piece of the parafilm. You don't need a lot, and stretch it before you apply it. So the area where the bud meets the parafilm, you want it to be stretched like this guy here. So I'm gonna start from the bottom here, overlap while pulling tightly, and then where I'm going to cover the bud, I'm gonna stretch it so it breaks easier. And just press on it, and that's done. So this guy is done here. If this was outside or directly under very bright light, and I would usually recommend, especially outside, you just don't push a lot on the bud, just above it, and just leave it this way for a couple weeks. This is what bud grafting is all about. I'm going to show you a different technique in a second here. So as I mentioned, this is just an example. I'm not actually doing it, but if I leave this alone, it should take. There's high chance it will take. God's will it will take if everything was done properly. There's good contact, cambium contact. When I'm working with these budded fig trees, I try to not water a lot, because what's going to happen is a lot of water is going to gush out and it will drown your bud. So we'll have a lot of water under the parafilm, and it will rot and die, and that's because it's going to come through the cuts that you made. So what I also do usually, I'll just make a few cuts on the branch below it, and then at least for the first couple days, any extra moist sap or water will come out of here and not drown the bud I have over here. I wrapped this was lightly watered, not a lot, so it's just moist, and I just covered it with plastic here just to keep it from drying out, so I don't have to water it. I mean, even if the soil dries out, nothing's gonna happen to this tree. It's well rooted. I just don't want to have to water it because now I'm gonna have risk failure of my bud by drowning it, actually. So that's the first technique here. This is a straightforward T-bud. The reason it's called T-bud because I made a T when I tried to graft it. So I'm going to turn this around here and try a different technique, and that's where, again, you will work with what works more comfortable for you, but sometimes you have to do it in a way or another because of the cyan that's you're working with. So this one here for me is very thin, first of all, so I might not be able to get a lot of I'm not going to be able to get the same clean cut tea that I got from the first one. So what I'm going to do here is same thing. I'm just going to put my knife below, go on a 10 degree or 15, I'm not really sure, and then flatten and go. I'm going to try to get the bark and not too much of the wood. Now, working with this one here, if your knife is facing straight or a little bit up, it will come out from here, and you won't be able to get any of the cambium above the bud. So you need some exercise. Again, just wiggle it left and right, don't push up. Keep watching your knife. If it slips, slow down. Point it down again so you can get under some of the bark above the bud, like this, and done. I'm going to keep it attached for now. So this is what I did. I'm going to keep it attached for now. So the second technique I'm going to show you here is almost what I call a modified T-bud. So again, just learning by experimenting, and sometimes it just happened by luck. So what I like about this new technique, it works really good for small, very small cyan. So what I do here is, because I'm working with a small cyan, I'm going to make a downward cut here, like almost like scraping some of the, removing some of the bark. See the cut here? And what I'm going to do is just remove it. So I remove this piece here, and that becomes my T. And then I'm going to do a cut here. And I noticed, guys, I probably missed a couple shots because it's really hard to work with this phone. And go down a little bit. I think that's enough to cover the total height of the bud. And then I'm going to go back and forth in the, just one time at least. And then when I get to the top, I'm just going to make again, because I don't have a very big wide bud, I don't have to open this too much. And I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. Go gently under the bud and try to loosen it. There we go. Just remove any scrapes left over from the cut. Make sure it's clean here. And then just open it a little bit here. There we go. Again, just cleaning, making sure there's nothing left over here. And let's go back to our bud here for a second. So this is the bud that's supposed to go over here. And what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to release it from the top by going the opposite way. So again, it's loosened up this way. I'm going to go the opposite way. So now I have it. And it's a little bit too tall. So what I'm going to do is just put it back where it was. And then just going to make a vertical cut here, just to make sure it's the perfect size. There we go. Now what I'm going to do here, and the difference you will see is that I made this notch here, and I want the top of my bud, or the part on the bud itself, to be touching to maximize the cambium contact. So let's see here how can I insert it. Try to push it because it's loose. If it's not going in easily, I'm just use my knife the other way. Careful because the bud is swollen, you don't want to break it. Push it down from the sides. I'm holding from the side. Push it down more. And if it's stuck, I'll loosen up the bark here. Do the same thing over here. And try to push down again. Gently push it down. Careful not to break the bud. So as you see here, I have this whole area touching the notch I made, and of course the bark from around with more cambium, just to maximize the contact. And when I'm working with this technique, I would usually start with the top. I want to secure it here to make sure it doesn't push out when I apply pressure on the bottom. So I'm gonna put my bud here, overlap it once, then try to go under the bud. Okay, and then under the bud again, grab it, another one, basically cover the entire area that you cut. Not too hard, not too tight. As I showed you before, I'm just going to put my finger here, wrap it around, grab it from the other side, put it under my finger, and done. So that's the second technique here. Get my paraffin. What I do here, just put my fingers on it from the back, stretch and go over your bud, stretch it a little bit. That makes it much easier for the bud to break through. And the area above it, then I'm just going to stretch it here and push it tight, remove any extra. So now here, this one is ready as well. Just look at it, and because I don't need the top growth, I want all of my energy to go. Like my bud should be the top bud on top, the graft. I mean, so I'm going to remove this one here, and that also works. So just one advice, try to do, if you have something this similar size, smaller or bigger, just do 2 grafts on the opposite ends, for example. If one fail, maybe the second one hopefully will take. If both take, then you will have 2 nice branches on the opposite side. However, when working with grafting two buds at the same time, make sure while you're handling your tree, you're not crushing or damaging your existing bud, the graft that you just did. So that's the technique here that I follow for bud grafting. This is the modified bud graft, I would say, just giving more cambium contact and works great with the smaller type scion. And in 3 to 4 weeks, what's going to happen is you're going to see something like this. Here's an example. This is one I did 3-4 weeks ago. So it broke through. See here, this is where my bark on the rootstock, and this pushed through and it's growing really nicely. So keep it indoor, or if you do this outside, that's fine, as long as you have it protected from direct sunlight. Let's go over some of what not to do, or some of the mistakes that would happen. So again, when I'm cutting this one here, if I go straight, if I don't watch my blade and the direction was facing out straight or a little bit upward, what's going to happen is, while I'm pushing here slowly, usually the mistakes usually happen around the right under the bud for me. And what's going to happen, I'm going to lose the knife will move a little bit too fast for me, and then I will end up with something like this. So I don't have any bark above. That doesn't mean this won't take, but it would always be better to have more contact, cambium contact, especially the area above it, because when that actually heals, it will keep your bud stronger, so it doesn't break easier in the following season. So that's just a quick tip here. So what I do usually, this is gonna be harder. Start the cut as soon as you're under the bud itself. Slow down, just wiggle left right without putting a lot of push on it. Left right, then readjust the direction of your knife. You're probably gonna go down again, because you see how it's you see the area here. So let me just try to explain it better. When you go straight here, this is already it's hard to explain, but this is kind of indented in the, so you kind of have to push your knife downward and position it downward a little bit once you get under the bud. So let's do it slowly, just left right, and it slipped actually, so you don't want to do that, but in this example this worked out great actually. So when I'm ready to graft this guy here, I'm just going to push it back here, and I'm going to make a cut, and then I'm going to have this here. So that's the bud grafting how to, my at least the way I do it. There are a lot of videos out there on how to do bud grafting for fig trees, so watch and learn multiple techniques and try them out and see what you're more comfortable with. And good luck. Thank you for watching, and comment if you have any questions.